Hello and welcome. A few days ago, I had the absolute pleasure of talking to rapper and producer Elro. We discussed his life as well as the creative process that it goes behind it. I hope you enjoy. First question is, what is your favourite TV show?
That question changes depending on how I'm feeling. But I would say, like, my go-to, the thing that's inspired my entire humor forever is probably The Office, like the UK Office. But I love loads of stuff. Like, I love South Park, Rick and Morty. But funnily enough, this has gone off on a bit of a tangent. But ever since I got depersonalization a few years ago, not that I really suffer with it badly anymore, but ever since then, I'm more into factual stuff.
Fair enough.
Fiction, I struggle to watch something that's fiction and then go and immerse myself in it, whereas I can watch documentaries forever. And I love anything factual, history, nature, any shit like that, I can watch forever. I've kind of gone off fiction a bit, but I would say favorite, if you were to ask me to put a name on it, I would probably say The Office.
Right, so the next question is, so obviously you do like rap.
Yeah.
What music do you listen to just when you're chilling out? What's your go-to genre?
Like noughties R&B.
Okay.
Like stuff like old school Lloyd, all of old 50 Cent stuff, Fabulous, just like old school R&B that came out in like 2000. That's when I hear that stuff, it just connects with me. I love it. But like, don't get me wrong, I listen to lots of modern rap and UK rap, American rap, but the stuff that's like, if you cut me open, I would bleed noughties R&B and hip hop, I would say.
I feel like I should have asked this at the start, but I've done, obviously, like, you do like research and stuff, and I've seen that you've done quite a few interviews. Do you have a favorite question that you've been asked?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I'm sure if I went through old stuff, I'd be able to pick something. But off the top of my head, I can't remember what I did yesterday.
Fair
so like, my memory's terrible.
So I've seen that you are very into golf.
Yeah.
Is there any other like hobbies that you have?
Yeah. I love, well, do you call this a hobby? I just love walking the dog in lovely nature places, or dragging the dog, whatever I'm doing. Yeah, but mainly golf is, because the thing is with golf, I played golf as a kid until I was like 18, then I quit for ages, and then the last couple of years I got back into it. So it's got like this inbuilt nostalgia for me. Like, whenever I'm at the golf course, I feel like I'm a kid again. So my main one is golf, but I mean, obviously producing is my job as well, but you could have called that a hobby. So like making music in any form, I like, really. Yeah. Making music and nature and golf are my main things, I would say.
Nature's really good. I find that nature helps with like mental health and stuff.
It's so underrated as a tool. Yeah. Exercise and nature are two like cheat codes. Because the problem is when you're depressed or something, you feel like you can't actually go out, or anxious, you feel like you can't do stuff. But if you can force through that bit and get yourself out in nature for a few hours and do some exercise, it always does some sort of help. I've never gone for a walk, and unless I'm like actually ill with flu or something, that's the only time where it makes me feel worse. Other than that, nature and a walk always makes you feel better, I find.
Yeah. I find that when my anxiety gets bad, that I enjoy just going out and going on a walk. Yeah. Like as soon as like I feel anxiety coming on, I'm just like, get out of the house, go on a walk.
Yeah. The worst thing you can do is sit and fester in your own thoughts, because you'll just end up cycling over bad stuff. And when you walk, there's obviously so much to take in that it kind of distracts your mind. And I feel like the actual aesthetics of it as well, like just looking at nature does something to you. I don't think we were meant to be shoved in places and living in these places with no greenery. I feel like we are wired to have less anxiety when we're in these places. I find running water as well, like whenever I go to Tinton, I listen to the river, and that has this soothing effect. I can't describe why, but it definitely does something.
There is so many like woods and rivers and stuff near me, and it's honestly so beautiful. I'm really thankful for that.
It's so same. That's why I don't think I'd well, I would definitely live in a city for a bit, but like through and through, I'm a country nature guy. Or even the coast. I love the coast as well.
Have you read anything interesting recently?
I've been watching stuff which interests me. Like there's these two documentaries on Netflix about the use of magic mushrooms for like therapy.
Yeah.
And how they can be used to rewire people's brains. There's two. There's one. The one documentary is called Fantastic Fungi. If you haven't watched that, it's a really good watch.
I haven't watched it.
The other one is called How to Change Your Mind, and that's they go through all different types of psychedelics and the different ways they can be used in therapy. Because like magic mushrooms, for example, in 5 years it will be legal everywhere.
Yeah.
Like it's already legal, but only for a certain amount of trials. But they're passing them so well that it's inevitably going to be legal. So I've been getting quite interested in all that sort of thing.
Hi, hello, man, hello. 6 pints on the head with a couple of facts. Why my legs now feel like jello. I'm mellow.
Right. So getting into the music questions.
Yeah.
What was life like before music?
Good question. Well, right before music, I was in uni, and I started doing. I wouldn't say I started music in uni, but I did start rapping and putting stuff on YouTube. But I didn't really start making music until my SB did half decent, and then kind of like everyone was like, "Where's the music?" After that, so I had to. But yeah, prior to that, as a kid, my entire focus was golf. Like I was going to turn pro. Go to the States for a bit, all sorts of stuff. That was my childhood is pretty much memories are just like, because I'd be playing a different event every week, like all over Wales and then the UK. So we were touring lots of different places, playing events, like little few day breaks in different places. It was really nice. I had a really nice childhood, to be fair. But I always loved rap. Even before I started writing it, I knew I could rap along with people I liked.
Yeah.
And so eventually, when I got to like sixth form, I realized I could change words here and there and make it funny. And that was kind of how it got started, when noticing I could make people laugh easily with it. And then it just kind of all stemmed from there. But yeah, my main childhood was very golf based, I would say.
I can see why golf would be such a big thing in your life then, just because
yeah,
you've always kind of had it.
And honestly, I didn't realize how much I missed it until I started playing it again. It's like a bereavement. You don't really like.
Yeah.
It was mad. A whole part of my life was missing, and I've come back to it now. And when I'm at the golf course, I can honestly say, like, my brain is only on golf for the entire time I'm there. And then I'll come away and I'm like, Jesus, you don't thought about anything. And if you'd have said that to me a few years ago when my depersonalization was at the worst, I would not have thought that's possible. But interestingly, when I first started trying to play golf after depersonalization, I felt so different that it actually made me more anxious because I couldn't believe how different it all felt. But then when I came back to it a few years later, when I was basically recovered, I got the nostalgia back and I loved it. Weird one that I kind of put it off for a few years because at the start it was almost traumatic because it felt so different to me because I was in this new setting kind of thing. But eventually, when that wore off, yeah, I started loving it again.
Where did the name come from? Because you go through like by the name Elro. Where did it come from?
Surname is Llewellyn Rowe. So I took the L and the Rowe. And basically, I was thinking business-wise, like ironically, since I came out as Elro, there's now a huge dance festival and thing called Elro with a W. But at the time, when I came up with Elro, I looked on YouTube at that spelling, I Googled everything, there was nothing. So I wanted a name that would be, when people search it, they find exactly me.
Yeah.
Because I met a few other rappers and their name was like Tiny. If you YouTube Tiny, you're going to get 50,000 results about whatever, something else. So I tried to pick a name that was completely unique in the way that when people search it, only I would come up.
Yeah.
And somehow the L and the Rho just worked. Yeah. So I just spelt it different, but phonically to me it was Elro. So
sometimes I find, because I do stand-up comedy and stuff.
How long have you been doing that? Because I used to do that.
Like a month, like really not that long.
I did it for about 2 years.
Yeah.
It's hard, isn't it? People don't realize, like, and you have to play so many crap rooms before you get to decent. But you want to be entering competition. Like I did all right in. Have you heard of? I don't even know if it runs anymore. So You Think You're Funny?
I've not heard of it.
And like the finals were up in Edinburgh. I would say enter some comps because you might do well in them, and it just opens doors. So just get yourself out there, definitely.
I find it's sometimes I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm kind of like low motivation.
Yeah.
But then I've got like comedians that I like that I look up to, and I'm like, I want to keep going. Do you have the same within like music?
Well, do you know the reason why I'm producing more and rapping less is because I started to, especially after I got sober, I felt less attached to the Elro side of it. And like, there's a lot more pressure when you're the artist to be a certain way, do certain things, release, blah, blah. As a producer, there was less of that. And that's why I've moved more towards it. But I definitely still have days where you think, God, I don't know, you know, like, am I getting this right? Blah, blah, blah. But I've got this internal confidence with it all now that like, because I put so many hours into it and made so much progress with certain things, I think hopefully I'm getting past that doubting stage now. But I think the doubting stage is completely natural for anyone who's at the start of something they're doing, aren't they?
Yeah.
So you have to, the difference is as well, all the people that make it, they push through that doubting phase. Because there's so many people who probably could have made it if they'd have done another 6 months of what they were doing. Have you seen that meme where like the guy's digging and the diamonds are like that far away? And turns out that thing, like it's like that. And so if you can just keep going, you're going to eclipse 80% of the field just by maintaining confidence. So it's one of those things hard to teach, but so worthwhile. Just back yourself in everything you do, I think.
So you mentioned you did stand up. Is that how like music started? Is that how you began rapping and stuff?
I did rapping just for a laugh at the start, like just found things that I thought were funny, and they would always do well like within my area. Like, so I figured it can't be that unique. Surely if I get it on a big platform, people will get it. But I think I started them separately, but they are intertwined because most of my early stuff was purely to make people laugh. I think I just found, like, for me, a cheat code for life, making people laugh. I knew I could do it easily. And so it just seemed like the obvious thing to do. But I don't think I started either of them because of the other. It was just that the two are kind of naturally intertwined. I remember having a phase where I was thinking of carrying on with the comedy and doing something like, say, what, Bo Burnham. Do you know Bo Burnham?
I love Bo Burnham, yeah.
Yeah, so doing something more like him. I did have a thought about all that, but in the end, I just preferred the producing side. But yeah, I just, these days, I just do whatever I like and whatever makes me feel comfortable. And I'm less comfortable on stage than I was when I was drinking. So that's why I've preferred personally to go to more the side of it and create what I want to create without having to be the main focus. But that's not saying that I won't drop rap songs again. It's just that the intensity that I was doing it at the start, I don't know, it's just not me anymore. I just like chilling out with no pressure on me. And the producing side, there is obviously still pressure, but it's not the same pressure, it's different. So I've just ended up gravitating towards that, really.
Social media is a massive thing now. I find that social media has helped me through stand-up and stuff. It's allowed me to find gigs, and it's allowed it's really been helpful. Is it the same with rap? Like, how's social media influenced?
It's helped me loads with producing, but this is I mean, you can imagine a lot of people that follow me are rappers. Yeah. So since I started producing and mixing vocals, a lot of my work comes through people that followed me because originally they like my rapping. But then when they hear what I've made, this and that or whatever, then the ball grows. But yeah, for me, there's so many positives to social media. There's obviously a million negatives, which we're all aware of as well. But in terms of the things that you're discussing, I think it's great. There's loads of ways to connect with other people who are doing what you're doing, people with the same mindset, and also just messages. I get quite a few messages off people because obviously quite a lot of my lyrics for a prolonged period of time were quite depressed and quite and so I get a lot of messages from people who want to know how I got out of it and that sort of thing. So it's also given me a platform to actually just speak to people who are struggling. I think there's obviously negatives with it. Depends how you use it. I don't really look at much on there anymore. I reply to messages and that, but I'm not one of these people that like, I honestly don't really go on Facebook. Never go on it.
Yeah.
Like, it just, isn't a thing to me anymore. But if you want to use it in the right way, it's definitely a very useful tool.
Do you have like a favorite social media like platform?
It used to be Twitter for years and years. Used to love Twitter, but now Twitter just seems like it's just people arguing with each other over stuff that neither of them should care about.
Yeah.
It's like people, I'm more offended than you. Well, wait a minute. Well, I'm offended that you're not offended. And you're getting this sea of stuff and you're just like, what? That? So I don't really go on Twitter as much anymore. At the moment, I would say I'm on Insta the most, but I have gone off social media in general as I've got older. I think that the happier I've got as a person, the less inclined I've been to post about it all the time.
Yeah.
It's funny because when I wasn't as happy, it was like I needed more attention to make me feel like I was something. But when I've started to feel better naturally, it became less and less of my life, really, which I think is probably natural, isn't it?
Do you have like a creative process?
Yeah.
Like how does that work for you?
So in terms of rapping or producing?
Both.
Okay. Well, for rapping, good question. That's a very good question because that's interesting for other people. Yeah, that's my favorite question. That's my answer to your question earlier. That's my favorite question. So it purely depends on what I'm writing. If I'm writing something from the heart, something that I want people to connect with, I write down all the points I want to make prior to making it a rap song. So, like, have you heard my StoryTeller?
It's been about 5 years now since I wanted these feelings to end. I didn't just lose my girlfriend last year, I lost my best friend. So fuck acting a hard man, there's no need to pretend.
Yes, I have, yes.
Right, so that, for example, I wrote down a list of things that I needed to get off my chest. And then after, I made it rhyme and wove it into a rap song. But I initially wrote down what I wanted to say in the song before. Because I think so many people, especially new rappers and stuff, like they just rap, they just write something that rhymes and it never really ends up meaning anything. You might get the odd bar that's really good, but it doesn't land. And so I decide what I want it to say emotion wise before I make it rhyme. And then I can tick off at the end, have I said this, have I said that, have I said that? But whereas if it's like a wordplay thing and a funny song, I used to just constantly, whenever I think of puns, I'll just write it down on my phone. Any pun I ever came up with, write down. Then later on in the day when I had more free time, I'd word it into something.
Yeah.
But I do find with writing rap, I've got to be in the mood for it. Sometimes I'm just not. And other times, like that StoryTeller, I think it took me like no time to write because I just knew what I wanted to say and I was feeling a certain type of way and it just... But other stuff, I can be stuck on 1 8-bar thing for days and I just can't think of the answer. But yeah, my process for rap music is definitely work out what I want to say before I actually make it rhyme and make it into a song.
Yeah.
Production wise, it can vary a lot because if I'm working with certain artists, they'll literally tell me what style of sound they want. So I'll find the similar sounds and that. But if I'm just making stuff from scratch that could go to anyone, I would almost say there's no plan. Like I just find chord sequences I like, and then I experiment until I find textures I like, and then I just keep adding it together until eventually it's something I like. I guess I try not to overthink it. But something I've learned as well since I've been producing more is when I first started producing, I'd make what I would class as very interesting sounding instrumentals, but there's no pocket for a rapper to slot into.
Yeah.
So that another thing I had to learn was to make something interesting that also has very little in, so that a rapper has punch points to make a flow. So that's where I've got a lot better the last couple of years. So now I will bear that in mind. So when I'm making even any tune, I'll get a random vocal, say a vocal that I had from another beat, or I'll just get one off YouTube and I'll test it over my beats to make sure there is a pocket. So that's another thing I just bear in mind, just to make sure I'm not making something that's too eclectic, you know?
Did you find that, like through like StoryTeller, that was quite, I guess, therapeutic because you were able to get things out?
Yeah, and yeah, 100%. Because I've always had, people always comment on it, like my mates and that, like, I've got this overwhelming urge to be understood. Like, I want people to get it. If I'm acting a certain way, I want people to know why it is. Some people don't care. Some people don't have that. They get on with it. They don't really care. But I've always had this craving to be understood. And so, yeah, it was definitely therapeutic. And not only that, the response you get from people, like the messages you get from people, just lifts you. Because the amount of people that will just message and just say like, a common one I used to get was like, you've put into words what I've been trying to say. Something like, I can't describe it, but I can show people this, and this is what I'm feeling, and that gives you a little warm feeling inside as well. Because I think a lot of people feel a certain way, but they don't have the sort of tools to put it into words. But I love words. Being understood is my thing. So like, yeah, it definitely is therapeutic. But that's another reason why I'm rapping less. I'm not unhappy. I haven't got that much interesting stuff to say at the moment. Like, and that's why I'm translating how I feel more into my beats, and it feels natural. But I know there'll be a point when I'll come back to it. So that's why I'm just not forcing anything really, because I know as and when time's right, it'll happen. So
Yeah.
I try not to overthink anything anymore.
You had Inside Out, I was going to say recently, but it was a number of years ago.
Yeah, that's gone. I guess it's 2 years, two and a bit years.
Yeah. I remember that really helped me. And last year I had a really, like, my anxiety was really, really, really bad last year.
Yeah.
To like a point where it was like a constant panic attack. Like, it was really awful.
Yeah, horrific, aren't they?
Yeah.
Really.
And I remember that, like, because I felt like no one really kind of understood what was going on.
Yeah.
I turned to like Inside Out, and I was like, I'm not alone. Like,
yeah, well, I'm glad to hear. Obviously, I'm sorry to hear that you felt like that, but I'm glad to hear that it's had any sort of positive effect on you. Sometimes it is just hearing that someone else, you go, fuck, I'm not fucked. There's other people who feel like this. I'm not the only person. I'm not some alien that no one gets. Like, that in itself can reduce anxiety, can't it? Feeling like you're not the only person on the planet with whatever you're suffering with. So I'm glad to hear it really help.
Do you have like a dream collab? Like, if you ever to go back to rapping, do you have someone that you really want to work with?
I feel like I can only answer it as a producer at the moment, because that's where I feel I am.
Yeah.
But God, there'd be so many. There's just so many. But like, I'd love to work with someone like Kendrick Lamar, because I just think he's so much more than a rapper. Like, stuff he makes is timeless and it's musical. It's not just throwaway rap stuff. It's like so well thought out. And yeah, someone like Kendrick Lamar. But then I'd also love to work with loads of different R&B singers, but just because I love working with different textures of their vocals and stuff. But I think if you had to push me for one, it would probably be Kendrick at the minute.
Would that be like rapping? Would that be like producing?
I would if I made that happen, and he wanted a 16 off me, listen, I'd chuck a 16 on there by all means. But it's just that at this moment in time, I've got no real drive to rap, in all honesty. But I know I will. The reason why it doesn't bother me is because I know for a fact that maybe in 6 months I will, maybe a year. But at some point, I'll have something that I want to talk about, and it'll happen naturally. And then I'll probably just drop a self-produced EP or something. Yeah, I've done everything myself. So I just feel like I'm going to work with other artists until I get that niggling feeling that I want to express myself again. Yeah. And at that point, I will.
I think it's better to do it when you feel ready and you want to, rather than
that's the thing. Like,
something.
With the producing, I don't need to rely on rapping as the income anymore. So there's less pressure on it. And the funny thing about that is, it wouldn't surprise me if when I do it next time now, if it goes a lot better, just because it's going to be more real and more, I don't know if organic's the right word, it sounds a bit pretentious, but it's going to be a little bit more something. It'll feel more natural, and things that are more natural tend to do better. So I feel like, yeah, as and when it happens, there's a chance, and it could be that I drop an EP. I am doing some rapping for some house artists, but it's kind of, yeah, I don't know why I'm not counting that as rap. I guess that is, but I feel like when I do my own EP, if that goes half decent, it might inspire me to get right back on and smash rap out again for a bit. But at this moment in time, I'm just not. I'd be lying if I said I was arsed about it. I'm just not. I love producing, and I've just found something I love in that, so I'm just sticking with it for the time being.
Yeah.
There's endless rabbit holes with producing as well, so you never ever no matter how good you get, there's 50 million layers to every single aspect of every bit of producing you can do. So you never get bored.
Yeah, it's a lot better to do something you are passionate about. You mentioned like wanting to go like places with golf, but like where would you be without music?
That's funny because I don't think my life would have gone as mental and shit as it did if it wasn't for music. Because the way that all happened was weird. But that's not music. But as soon as I got depersonalization, my life went drastically downhill for a while. So it's so hard to say, but I almost certainly would have been a pro golfer in some form, whether it was teaching or playing, I don't know. But I definitely would have been involved in golf at some level, because that's something I still might do. I might turn pro when I'm older and teach, because I'm still at that standard where I can do that. So I'm not like amazing, but you've only got to be off 4 handicap or below. And I'm 3 at the minute, so I could still do it. And it's something that maybe when I'm like 50, I might really enjoy doing, because I like teaching people anything. And I love golf. It seems like an obvious thing to get into. And I do it a bit. It's just that I'm not actually a qualified PGA pro, but I do give people lessons anyway. But it's just that I might do the whole thing properly when I'm a bit older, you know?
I mean, it's worth it if you're like interested into it. My next question is, what's your favorite song? What's your favorite song that you produced or rapped?
I really like my song Let Down. But I did a video for it, but I didn't like the video, so I never put it out. It's one of the things that maybe in a few years' time, if I get a buzz going again, I would just put it out with a video then, because I feel like no one's heard it at the minute. It's only got, I don't know, 10, 20,000 streams. In the grand scheme of the world, no one's heard it. That's Let Down or Storyteller or Yoyo, my like 3 that I think I articulated how I was feeling during those periods the best in. Yeah. And I co-produced 2 of them as well. So I co-produced Yoyo and Let Down as well. So I'd probably go with them. But in terms of producing wise, it's songs that aren't actually out yet. I've got a couple with Manga that I love from Roll Deep. So yeah, that would be a different answer production wise. But if it's me on it, I would say Let Down or Yoyo.
I'm a mess, I'm scum, depressed, the rum disguises fear that I feel, and unless I can find a cure, I don't think I'll endure this torture, and death seems best.
But I do love my Storyteller as well. So
I've got a mate that doesn't like that type of like genre, like he's more into like his Pink Floyd and stuff.
Yeah.
But I was like, you should go listen to Inside Out, and he loved Inside Out.
Oh really?
It's the only thing that he likes that is in that genre.
Do you know what? It's weird. A few people have told me that. Like, a few people have listened and they're like, I don't listen to rap music, but I like this particular EP, which is nice, obviously, because, yeah, I think we tried to make it so that it wasn't like something that would just fit that period in time. It was meant to be a sound that hopefully still sounds all right in 10 years' time. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
I think it's quite listenable stuff that even people that don't listen to rap kind of could have a go with. So it's always nice to hear when people from other genres dip their toes in, you know.
What's the worst song you feel like you've done? Like one that you could go back and be like, nah, don't do that.
Fucking almost everything I did when I first started. But no, but the thing is, obviously, I liked them at the time, because I remember when I put out a song called Real World. When I got signed and all, like a couple of people said to me, "Oh, you've sold out." And I was thinking, you haven't got a fucking clue. I made this before I was signed to anyone. I haven't sold out. This is what I made out of my choice. Like, but there were certain parts of that where, like, it all happened so quickly that what I was telling you earlier about writing down what I want to say in a song prior to writing it, I hadn't discovered that at the start of my career. And so I feel like most of the songs at the start of my career, there are patches of greatness and also patches of meh. So I would honestly, almost all the stuff I did at the start, there's room for improvement on, that's for sure. But then certain people still love it, so I don't know. But yeah, for me, you always, whenever you listen back to something, you can hear, oh, I could have done this, I could have done that. But I've don't really think about it too much anymore, to be honest with you.
To be fair, you wouldn't be where you are now without that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Like, everything that happened to me was necessary for me to be where I am now, I guess. So, and I feel like I'm on the road to being on a way better place, and I feel like everything seems to be falling into place now. So it's just a matter of, I didn't really, when I was younger, because I was so depressed for so many years, I did hardly anything in my 20s. So like, it's only the last 2 years since I got sober that I've been working hard every day, and it seems like everything seems to be clicking now. So I'm just happy that I'm in a position where I can do something I enjoy and make money out of it, because you've kind of beaten half the world if you do that, haven't you? Like,
Yeah.
half the world seems to hate their job. So if you can get paid for something you enjoy, then you're doing half decent, I think.
Yeah. Music video wise, what has been your favorite like music video to record and like be part in?
I tell you what was quite fun. We did one. I did a Real World again. We did a remix with Gets on.
Yeah.
Gets, and who else was on there? What, I can't remember. That's bad. That's how bad my memory is. Can't remember who's on my old song. But anyway, do you remember Rizzle Kicks?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, they came. We went to theirs for the video shoot, and that was a really fun day because they had like Radio 1 an hour later, and we were like forcing gin down their necks, and they ended up turning up to the Radio 1 interview pissed as hell. So that video was quite fun.
I'm like a carcass that's targeted by hyenas. They're barking and shit. I'm laughing as they bubble and squeak, swallow off gargled and...
But if it's just a video of me, I liked iPhone 5 video.
I watch too much porn, I got dick cramp. I'm all white, come with a tic-tac.
Just sort of dancing about with stuff happening. But in all honesty, I'm not a video person. Actually, the video to Me, Myself and I, that's a track I forgot actually.
Now I do the same damn thing.
You're a fucking disgrace. All you're doing is passing the blame when you know that inside you, the reason behind it, you feel such a waste, that you are such a waste.
Me, Myself and I, it's an animated video.
Yeah.
Animator that did it just happened to be a fan of mine, so we did it over the space of like 4 months in his own time. Like, the budget to make that video would have been way beyond me, but he happened to like my stuff, so we just did it over a prolonged period of time in his free time. So that one, I love that video. Yeah. And I would never have been able to afford to have that. It would have cost like 10, 15, I don't know. This guy makes so much from animating.
Yeah.
Way beyond my budget. So that was really cool as well, because I kind of storyboarded it and then he made it into, animated. So that was really cool as well. But in terms of, I just don't really like being in front of camera that much anymore. I just like to just chill and like behind the scenes more. That's just more me.
The animation for that, Me, Myself and I was really,
sick.
Really, really good.
Yeah, anchored the song well, I thought.
Yeah. Have you done like in-person gigs? Like, is it all online, or have you done stuff?
No, I've done loads of gigs. I've done festivals, all sorts of stuff. But during that entire period of time, I was drinking heavily. So like, I feel like I developed a dependency through that, because I couldn't go on stage without a few pints. I was doing the same for stand-up, mind. I would always have a few pints, never be totally sober. And I think that's what led to me getting a problem with it. Because at the start of my life, I figured that I was able to conquer things I couldn't conquer. Well, if I had a few pints, fine. And so it became like a mechanism, which obviously doesn't work the longer you do it. But yeah, I've done loads, but I don't know. I think I'm so in my own head that the idea of standing in front of loads of people doesn't attract me now that I'm sober. When I was more on the booze, I was more into the attention, but I've got a bit older and I don't know. It's not for me. I think if I was producing stuff and maybe I was DJing for someone and then spitting the odd bar, that'd be more it. But being the sole center of attention, as I've got older, I've just realized is not as attractive as it used to be to me, in all honesty. But I've done gigs everywhere, clubs, festivals, everywhere really.
I was going to ask you if you had like pre-gig nerves, but do you think that that's where the alcohol came in? Yeah,
but I think everyone has if you don't have pre-gig nerves, then you're almost sort of inhuman. Like, if you care about something, you're going to have nerves, aren't you? Because you think about it. It's just how you deal with them. And I obviously could have dealt with them better rather than trying to take the easy option of having a few pints every time. But I think anyone who says they don't have nerves, if they legitimately don't have nerves, then they've like hacked life somehow. I don't even understand how that's possible. But for me, I always have nerves before stuff like that. But you learn to harness them eventually, you know, and not see them as a negative and use them kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I definitely did get pre-gig nerves is the answer, yeah.
And some of the comedians that I've met have still mentioned that even though where they are now, they still get nerves. So I think
Yeah.
it's just
There you go.
so human.
But an interesting tangent to that is like, for example, when I was supporting someone else, my nerves are way higher because these people aren't there to see. Like, I went on tour with Tinchy Strider years ago, and so everyone was there to see him.
Yeah.
And so I'd be more nervous because I've got to almost win the crowd over. Whereas when I've done sets where everyone's there to see me, I don't get as nervous because it's like, well, these people have paid money to come out and see me, so they're obviously backing what I'm doing. So it's almost like at the start when you're an unknown, maybe the nerves are worse. But when you get to a stage where people are going to be knowing you and knowing what you're doing, I think maybe they ease a bit then.
Yeah.
The start is just always nervous because you do feel like you've got to win people over, don't you? That's the same with comedy and with rap.
Would you ever do, like in the future, would you ever do more gigs in person?
Rap?
Yeah.
I would, but I've no desire to.
Fair enough.
I would if you know, if I get a song that's popping again and I got to do a booking to keep stuff doing, I would. But it's not. I don't really have the passion for it. I enjoy the songwriting and the song creating more than I do the attention I get when I do it to other people.
Yeah.
But I do feel like maybe if I self-produced a whole EP, I would have more fun doing it then. Yeah, because I would try and think of an interesting way of doing it with different pads, maybe, and instruments. But it's not on my top of my list of things to do. But I'm open to anything. I never say never with anything.
Yeah. Would you have any advice for people that are like trying to go down the same like path?
With rap,
Yeah.
or anything. Be consistent. That's the thing I never did. Like the market has changed so much these days. Like consumers want a song every month, you know, like every month. And if you haven't brought out a song in that month, they start going, where's the new music? And it's like, fucking hell, mate, give it a chance. But consistency is everything in the modern climate. So I would say get into a routine of releasing music and just put it out. We all have this quest for perfection, but in reality it's futile. You're better off putting out more and more things, and eventually some of it will land. If what you're doing is good, some of it will land. And also be open to not open to criticism, because you've got to do your own thing, but be conscious of learning. Don't get stuck where you are because you've got a certain way of doing stuff. Be open to change, be happy to try new things. And I think, honestly, it sounds so simple, but like, enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah.
As soon as you start not enjoying what you're doing, it's almost like you're faking the whole process then. So if you, for example, with me, one of the things that went wrong, I would say, is all my stuff started doing well. And then suddenly I got signed to a major label and they were like, right, we want this by this date. And I was like, I've never written like that. I've always written in my own time as and when I feel like it. And then trying to force stuff out when I didn't feel like I had it there became a nightmare to me. So I would say there's so many things, but yeah, always stay 2 tracks ahead. That's a big one. So like, if you're going to drop something, make sure you got at least 2 stuff better than it after, so that if that one kicks off, when you've got the fans going, where's the new stuff? You've got something ready. Because if you get one that kicks off and then you leave it 6 months because you haven't got anything ready, everyone's forgot about you these days. So like, be prepared.
Yeah.
Get stuff ready and be consistent with it, with your drops. That's what I would say. And if it in terms of writing, write what's real to you. Don't copy people. By all means, like, be inspired and use flows, blah blah. But like, what will connect with an audience is you being as real as you could possibly be. That's what amazes people. That's what blows people's minds when they hear someone who doesn't say what everyone else is saying. So honesty, real honesty, like cutthroat honesty, you know?
It's also like really competitive, so to see something different is important.
Exactly. If you sound like everyone else, you're not going to stand out. If you've got your own unique thing going on, you've then put yourself from this huge pond with loads of fish into a different pond with loads of room where you can shine. So absolutely embrace your uniqueness. Like, I think a lot of people all try and become the same rapper they've heard and do the same flows, I mean, I even hear people from Wales rapping in a full-on London accent, and it's like, I get it, I see how it happens, but like at the same time, I find people are blown away with authenticity. Like, if you're genuinely real and honest, and that's what gets people.
Yeah.
I think people shoot themselves in the foot sometimes by trying to be something when they're not that thing, you know? So authenticity.
Do you have like a favorite moment in your career? Like, is there a moment where you're like, I'm really happy this happened?
Yeah, I mean, just the day my first SB came out and it started going mental, I remember that was a mental feeling.
I'm like an undercover cop in bed. I'm undercover double. I'm undiscovered in rubble.
But that was also, I also got loads of anxiety from that. Like, not horrific, unbearable anxiety, but like, I started getting so many messages and shit all at once. I was like, it sounds cocky, but like in my head, I knew it was going to happen anyway. Because I just thought, there's no one else doing this. There's no one else rapping like this. This is not done. I kind of knew I was ready for it to happen. I always thought it would happen. But then when it did start going mental, it's actually a bit like, fucking hell. Because I'm used to, if someone messages me, I reply. Now, when you get something that's popping, that becomes impossible because you have hundreds of messages a day. And so it's just, yeah, there's always little pros and cons and everything. But I would say the day my SB did well, I was really buzzing that day.
Yeah.
But production wise, like the first time I got something on radio was good. First time I worked with big artists and stuff. But yeah, I think the main thing that I would remember is the first day that my SB actually went live, probably. But there was obviously other moments, like when I got signed and that. But I just remember it feeling like, I know it sounds cocky or arrogant, but I just felt like I knew this was going to happen. Like I'd planned it. I didn't see how someone could do that and people not give it attention, which purely because of no one else doing that at the time. And so, yeah, it was probably that moment, this is the first SB.
It's really impressive that you got stuff on the radio.
It's one of them things, if you look at things like, that seems like an unachievable thing when you first start out, but it's the same as anything. If you break stuff down into processes that you can handle, eventually the doors just start opening. And if you're good at what you're doing, eventually doors will open.
Yeah.
And so it's being consistent. And it's the fact that I do believe in what I'm doing now gives me motivation to do it every day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't really have to look for motivation anymore because it's there.
I was looking at like old songs compared to like, for example, I'm really about, you know, like How Do You Picture Me?
It kind of pickles my head and I always assume that they wish I was dead, but the truth of the matter is they probably forgot it.
I feel like the difference between them two is it's so massive, and I'm really proud of that. Like, I'm really proud of you for that.
Yeah, it's interesting. See, I would like to do more stuff like that, and I think I probably will. But that stuff only appeals to a big audience when you've got them in already.
Yeah.
So what I'd like to do is do some track that's a bit catchy, get people in, and then drop stuff like that onto them once I've got their attention, because that's what I think about. That track is again an honest thing about what thoughts that go on in my head.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would definitely like to do more stuff like that, the introspective kind of stuff.
The writing was really good on that song. Like,
I really like that one. Yeah.
Yeah, the first time I listened to it, I was like, this is really good. And then I've re-listened to it, and the words kind of just hit you at that point. And it's like, it's comforting in a way because it's like, not alone.
Yeah, again, you got that collectivity that you're not the only person that thinks these things. And yeah, I'm glad to hear it landed. I don't even know I haven't even put it on Spotify. It's just on that freestyle. But yeah, it is a song, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was happy with that one.
So seeing that your improvement, like seeing when like Inside Out came out and stuff, like the way that you put the songs on Inside Out was really good.
Thank you.
Because you kind of went from Like you kind of had, it's like a wave, if that makes sense.
It was that, and that was. It's funny because we were very. The whole idea was to cover the whole spectrum of emotions and dip in and out of it. So the fact you say that is very satisfying because that is what we were trying to do.
Yeah.
That was because curiously that EP was also my mate's final project for his music degree,
That's
and he
really,
got a first. So we were like.
that's really
If we
cool.
didn't get a first, I'd have been pissed off though, because we put so many hours into that thing. If we didn't get a first, I'd be like, oh, for fuck's sake, what are these other people doing? Do you know what I mean? But like,
Yeah.
it was a very satisfying process. And that was where I learned to produce, making that EP.
So Amsterdam,
Yeah.
how was that film? Like, what was the process behind that?
I know I'm weird because I do shit in public and you get embarrassed. Came from a state, but I'm now back 21 Savage.
We just went, do you know what? It was almost half written because we were like, I was chatting to my mate, I was like, I've just got this thing in my head. The beat that was sent to me called, that's the only one on there that isn't my beat. Well, it's half my beat. I did additional production, but
Yeah.
the beat was called Amsterdam. And I just wrote the hook and I was just like, if we do that, we can go to Amsterdam, film the video, can't we? And so we just did. We got a videographer, came with us, stayed with us, and then just sort of followed us about. And it was very sort of laid back thing really, but it's annoying because I want to go back to Amsterdam when I'm not filming a music video. So I was so busy that like everyone else was able to dip in and out and enjoy Amsterdam, whereas I had to be in different locations for like, I didn't really feel like I got to enjoy it as I could. And if I go back, it'd be nice to go back without filming a music video.
Yeah. And actually like taking environments and
Exactly, yeah.
I feel like you can lose the enjoyment in it sometimes when you're doing it for like
It's
work.
just a bit rushed, isn't it? And you just
like you don't really, sometimes you don't get to do what you want to do. So you mentioned you're producing.
Yeah.
Are you working on anything else? Like what are you currently working on?
There are loads of stuff. Got quite a few tracks on Manga's new project. Quite a few singers. Honestly, all sorts, and just random people that buy my beats as well, who I don't even know who they are. Them as well. But, as well as producing, I'm doing vocal mixing, which I really like. So people will send me their stems, which is like each layer of the vocal, and then I'll mix them. So I'm doing a lot of that as well, which I think because I rapped, I know what I would want to hear if it was my own mix.
Yeah.
It kind of gives me an advantage in a way because I obviously understand the timing of it and all.
Yeah.
So yeah, just loads of bits and bobs, to be honest with you. But yeah, the biggest thing's probably the Manga drop, which I think is in October.
That's
actually.
cool.
Yeah.
We've mentioned it a few times, but do you have like a clear future vision?
I feel like if I keep doing what I'm doing, everything's going to be all right.
Yeah.
I don't really overthink it any further than that. Other than if I stay dedicated and continue doing what I'm doing, the path that, if you saw where I was a few years ago, right, compared to where I am now, it's mental in a way.
Yeah.
And so I'm just kind of back in the process now and trying not to overthink it. But I mean, ideally I want to be producing for some of the biggest artists in the world. That's the dream. But if I'm not, whatever, as long as I'm not depressed, you know what I mean? When you've been as low as I was, as long as I'm not depressed, I'm happy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not anxious. So I feel like it's all going to work itself out, providing I continue to put the work in.
Yeah.
So I try not to overthink it. Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it's better not to think about the future because it can, like, I find for me, sometimes looking into the future too much can kind of stress me out and make mental health worse.
That's why I don't do it.
Yeah.
Because I think so often if you look forward, especially if you've got brains that are wired like ours, which maybe hyperfixate on things that could be a problem, you'll end up talking yourself out of stuff. The one thing I've changed since I got sober is I just do everything. I don't see anything as wasted time. If there's an opportunity, I'll do it. And half the time, that opportunity is pointless. But what will come from that opportunity is 3 new doors being opened. So like I'll do a studio session that will make very little difference to me. But just because of the fact that I got myself there and went, I meet 2 new artists who are big, who I make 2 big songs with. So I just do everything now. Just do it. And there's less, oh, should I do this? Do it and then see what happens after.
Yeah.
Because overthinking will kill you. You never get anything done if you overthink it.
I try not looking into the future, but try not overthink it.
Yeah, a plan is wise. To come up with stuff that you need to do, tick off in order to get somewhere is wise. But to overthink it to the nth degree can be detrimental. So yeah, I try and just go with the flow, but stay productive and busy.
I just want to say thank you. I really appreciate your time today.
No worries at all. I'm glad. Hopefully, you get some good stuff out of it.
I would like to thank Elro for his time. I've left a link to all the songs we discussed in the description, as well as his social media. More content is on its way, so please make sure to like and subscribe. My social media is also linked down below. Okay, bye! And stay awesome!